In a small and peaceful village, there were two frogs who lived together as closely as real brothers. Though one was big and chubby, while the other was small and skinny, their differences never affected the special bond between them. Every day, the two frogs hopped around the village together, exploring every little corner they could find. Each trip brought something new, and what they loved most was simply being together. On a warm afternoon, as usual, the two set off on a new adventure. While hopping across the path near the cow barn, they suddenly saw a large bucket the farmer had forgotten. Their curiosity would not let them ignore it. The bucket was so tall that they could not see inside, and without thinking about anything, they both leapt up and jumped straight into it. The moment they landed at the bottom, they were shocked to discover the bucket was full of milk. The sides were slippery, giving them nothing to cling to as they tried to climb out. Their initial excitement quickly turned into panic. Even so, they kept swimming, trying to find a way to escape. From that moment, a challenging journey began, a challenge that tested not only their strength, but also their determination and faith. In a small and peaceful village, there were two frogs who lived together as closely as real brothers. Though one was big and chubby while the other was small and skinny, their differences never affected the special bond between them. Every day, the two frogs hopped around the village together, exploring every little corner they could find. Each trip brought something new, and what they loved most was simply being together. On a warm afternoon, as usual, the two set off on a new adventure. While hopping across the path near the cow barn, they suddenly saw a large bucket the farmer had forgotten. Their curiosity would not let them ignore it. The bucket was so tall that they could not see inside, and without thinking about anything, they both leapt up and jumped straight into it. The moment they landed at the bottom, they were shocked to discover the bucket was full of milk. The sides were slippery, giving them nothing to cling to as they tried to climb out. Their initial excitement quickly turned into panic. Even so, they kept swimming, trying to find a way to escape. From that moment, a challenging journey began, a journey that tested not only their strength, but also their willpower and belief. As the two frogs fell into the bucket of milk, they struggled to stay afloat. Time passed, each minute feeling endlessly long. They swam and swam, but the sides were too smooth, without a single foothold, making their hope of escape grow thinner. After hours of effort, the big frog began to weaken. His breathing became heavy, each kick of his legs growing weaker. Finally, he looked at his friend with tired eyes and said in despair, "We've been swimming for too long. No one is coming to save us. No matter what we do, it's useless. We're going to drown." Hearing that, the small frog shook his head firmly. His voice trembled with exhaustion but was still full of determination. "Don't give up. We've overcome so many difficulties before. As long as we breathe, we still have hope. Just keep swimming. Maybe a miracle will happen." But no matter how sincere his encouragement was, the big frog had completely lost faith. His strength was gone, and he no longer had the will to fight. With a helpless look, he stopped swimming. Within seconds, his body sank into the thick white milk and disappeared. The small frog froze, his heart breaking from the pain of losing his closest friend. Though consumed by sorrow, he refused to let himself stop. "I'll keep going because of you," he whispered, like a final promise to his fallen friend. Each weak kick gradually grew stronger thanks to his unyielding determination. He swam non-stop despite his exhausted body. Then something strange happened. Beneath him, the milk began to thicken. His constant movement had churned the milk into butter. When the surface became solid enough, the small frog gathered all his strength, made one powerful jump, and escaped over the rim of the bucket. He was finally free. But the price he paid was too painful. In the dim evening light, the small frog quietly walked away, carrying the memory of the friend he would never forget. After escaping from the bucket, the small frog stood on the ground, gasping for breath, his body trembling from exhaustion. Freedom had finally come, but the joy could not overshadow the grief he had just endured. He looked back at the bucket, where his dearest friend had passed away, and his tiny eyes filled with tears. Though his whole body ached, he dragged himself back to the forest where they used to play. Every tree trunk, every leaf reminded him of the big frog who once walked beside him. That loss was like a scar carved deep in his heart, but he knew he could not stop. Life had to continue, and he needed to live for both of them. Time passed slowly. A year later, the small frog met a gentle and kind female frog. They gradually became a family, and soon baby frogs were born. Every time he looked at the little ones, the small frog remembered his old friend, the one who had always protected and accompanied him through their youthful days. To honor that memory and keep it alive, he decided to name all his children after his lost friend. It was not only a way to remember him, but also a reminder that true friendship can outlast even time. Every night when the little frogs curled up beside their parents, the small frog would tell them the story of their brave uncle, a story of effort, loss, and hope. He taught his children that life can be difficult, even cruel. There are moments when it feels impossible to go on, but as long as you do not give up, there is always a chance. If you keep trying, he said, you still have hope. And only when you don't give up will you discover that you can achieve things that once seemed impossible. That story became the greatest lesson the small frog passed down. No matter how many challenges life brings, perseverance can always create miracles. The story of the two frogs does not end with loss or the struggle to escape danger, but leaves a profound lesson about determination and hope. Whenever the small frog remembered the time fighting for survival in that bucket of milk, he understood that what saved him was not strength or luck, but perseverance, a quiet power, yet incredibly strong. Now, as he watched his children play happily each day, he believed even more strongly that this lesson must be passed on, for it was an essential companion for any journey in life. Every evening, when the moon cast its reflection upon the lake, the little frog would tell his children the story of the great uncle who had sacrificed himself. He told them about the despair the big frog once felt, and about the hope that never faded, the hope he himself had struggled to hold on to during the hardest moment. The little frogs sat still and attentive, their sparkling eyes filled with both sympathy and admiration for the uncle they had never met. Through each story, the little frog hoped to plant in his children's hearts a simple yet deeply important message: never give up. He told them that life would not always be gentle. There would be times when they faced hardships, failures, and even losses that caused great pain. But just as the milk turned into butter, those challenges could become stepping stones that made them stronger, if they persevered long enough. As long as you keep trying, he reminded them, hope still exists. And who knows, a miracle might appear at the very moment you think you are about to fall. And so, the story of the milk bucket was passed down from one generation to the next, not just as a sad memory, but as a guiding light, a reminder that perseverance can create miracles, and that hope only fades when we stop trying. Below is a rewritten version of Section 5, about 350 words, based on the concluding lesson of the story, emphasizing meaning, spiritual value, and an inspiring message. The story of the two frogs may seem simple, but it contains a powerful lesson that the little frog always wished to pass down to future generations. Each time he watched his children grow, he understood more deeply that in life, everyone would face moments when it seemed there was no way out. Whether one was a small frog or a human in a vast world, difficulties were unavoidable. But how one faced them was what mattered. The little frog often told his children, "Life won't always be fair. There will be times when you're exhausted, lonely, and unsure of what to do. But if you give up, all miracles end instantly. If you keep going, even just a little, the world might change in ways you never expect." That was what had saved him. A fragile yet unwavering belief that as long as he continued, there was still hope. The little frog always remembered his big friend, and it was that sacrifice which pushed him to remind his children that sometimes our choices shape the entire future. If he had given up back then, there would be no present moment, no warm family, and no chance to share this story. So he taught them that perseverance was not something grand. It began with small steps, one more attempt, one moment of refusing to quit, one whisper of, "I can still do it." That persistence over time would form real strength. At the end of each story, the little frog would say, "Life can be cruel at times, but hope only disappears when you stop trying. As long as your heart continues to persevere, miracles can happen."